Hey guys, welcome back. Chad again. I was sitting around talking with my little guy a few years back, I should say 2.5, 3 years ago. The kids and I and my wife, we all got into camping. Once we started getting more into the outdoors, my son and I really started to get more into bushcrafting, meaning going out and forage for certain things that you can eat, fish, trap, hunt. Make your campfires, make a shelter out of primitive materials. Maybe you might have brought a few little things with you, but basically kind of that kind of lifestyle in a way. And that's what led me into making knives. That's what led me into wanting a knife for myself, and I didn't want to just buy a store-bought one. I wanted to have some input on a knife I could have. If I was going to spend $200, $300, $400, I wanted a knife that gave me a little bit more input, not just something that was made in China, or it might have been made in the U.S. here, but it's just kind of a basic stamping of everybody else's knife. So that's why I got into knives as well. Well, a little while back, my son likes to go trout fishing, and so we're going to try to hit trout fishing when the rain and the cold weather starts to snap a little bit, starts to get a little bit warmer. We're going to go back out. And we were going to make our own type of little fishing sets. And this is what got me to wanting to make this video. It's not a big video, but it's something I thought I'd show you guys. Maybe you might want to do this with your sons or daughters as a little project. Also, it's something that you might be able to do if you're out and about and you have some of these materials with you. So let's get to it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay guys, let's clean this mat up here just slightly. I left you with a dirty mat here. So let's get the whisk broom out here and sweep this off. Okay, what I was talking about is this little thing. What this is, it's just, if anybody's familiar with fishing, you'd be calling it a jig. I have similar items that might be a reminder. This was actually made by my father. He makes a bunch of these different types of jigs. And being up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and all, using jigs like this work really well for things like walleye and bass and muskie, northern and such like that. Different kinds, of course, but mostly this is like for walleye that he sent me these for. And you can use some of these smaller ones for trout or for some bass and stuff like that. So I got to thinking, we don't always carry stuff like this, or yeah, you can buy things at the store, but I thought, I got a ton of paracord. If anybody's seen any of my videos, you'll know I've got a lot of paracord. And I made this, and it's just a bare hook that we had in our fishing kit, and it's some paracord. And I tied it up a little bit, and tied a nice little square knot on that, and that was a little jig. And I just thought it was neat because, it's so tiny. Get my little ruler out here, just to show you guys that, it's literally 1.5 inches long, so it's not very big, but, granted, you can buy stuff and, you'd be happy and everything will go on and go about your hunting, but I thought, what the heck, it gives the kids a little bit of ownership in something that they're doing. So I thought I'd show you guys what I was doing with this. I got a whole bunch of paracord here. I got this colored stuff here, and I've got all sorts of little scrap pieces that I have, little remnants and such. And what I did is I went ahead and I cut myself a little piece of paracord, and then I frayed it, and I ran the hook through it, and then I tied it all off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I did. So the first step was I just take this, and I cut this to a certain length, which again, it was about 1.5 inches, something like that. And I'm going to lower the camera a little bit more so you guys can see better. So hopefully this will come out a little bit better. So that, again, that's our little jig right there. So what I did is I just cut about a finger length. That's all it was. I just cut a finger length right like that. Get the scissors, cut it off. Boom, you're done. Now it doesn't fray right away, as you'll see. There's not a lot of fraying going on. But if you spin this, as you spin this, you'll see how the weave is all starting to come apart. See? Now it's starting to come apart again. So I just continue to do this, and then I pick at it a little bit and start pulling it off. You kind of start separating all the fibers, the outer cord and the inner cord. And that's what you want to do. You just want to squeeze it and spin it like this in your fingers. You're going to roll it like that. And you're going to slowly start taking all of that apart. Hopefully you guys, this is coming out well. And you can go as far down as you want. And in all honesty, you don't have to go very far, because throughout continuous use, it's going to come apart. It's going to slowly frayed. And you can see right there, you'll see how the cords are intertwined with each other, but as we're separating them. So you do this for a couple of minutes, separate it all out as much as you want, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, so now we got a nice little, what we have here is a good fray. We have a good fray going across that. That's nice. Okay, so we have a nice fray here. So what we're going to do next is, get a hook. Now these are the kind I have. They're number 4. But you can use just about any size. The reason why I use a number 4 is because they're really small and they're good for trout. You can use these also for bluegill, but really you're going to be kind of limited to anything larger than that, unless you got something in your region that you're familiar with. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hook. Now sometimes you'll have barbed, sometimes you'll have barbless. This is a barbed hook. And what that means is there's a little tiny hook right there. I don't know if it's going to come through or not. Probably not. But there's a little barb in there. So what I do is I'm just going to take this and I'm going to put the hook right through the top where this was already melted. That was the part that was melted with a lighter earlier. So just that's what you do. That's for the end of the paracord so they don't fray. I'm going to push it down and I'm going to feed it up over the hook, pretty much right through the center of all that frayed material, and it's going to come in like that. There you have it. So now this is the part where it comes in, and I'm going to take this, and then you take another piece of paracord, and you can take any color. I got a piece of black scrap here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this black scrap, and this is 9 inches long or so. Doesn't have to be anything really big, but what it'll help to do is give you enough material to do the next step. Now when you cut both ends of the paracord, like I said, this one, it was melted, and when you don't melt paracord, of course, it starts to fray like this, and you'll see the inner strands start to come out. So what you do is you just grab these inner strands, just take one of them, and separate it. And so now you'll have this little tiny strand like that. And what I do is I just take it and I just basically find the center of it, find the center of the strand, and then I hold it and then I'll start wrapping it. Now what I'm doing is I started wrapping on the top. It went from the middle right there and it went up a couple. Now I'm going to go back down over it, and it's going to help snag everything together. It's going to help hold everything down. So I'm going to tie it down like this, and I'm going to hold that. So now that is going on the, as you're looking at it right now, it's on the left side of the hook. So I'm going to hold on to that, and I'm going to hold on to the hook, and I'm going to take this other string, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I'm going to come around the right side of the hook, and then I'm going to tie them off. This I'll have to set it down on the counter here. Just make sure you don't go poking yourself or anything, and leave yourself a decent amount. The first hook I did was a little bit more challenging because I didn't leave myself enough material. And then it was a square knot. The best rule of thumb is Boy Scouts or anything else is right over left and through, and then left over right and through. And that'll give you your square knot. Now if you're doing these at home, you'll be able to do this next step. And the next step is the best thing because you'll give more life to your little lure here. So now that we have our strand and we have these little pieces left over, this is the part that I'm going to cut off. You see I was a little bit loose on that one, but we're going to go this next step and it's not going to matter. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut those little danglers off. Now what I'm left with is my square knot, and it's wrapped around there. So again, this isn't going to come off because you have the eye of the hook that's right there. That's going to catch the paracord from going forward. Plus you'll have your string tied onto that. And it won't go down this way anymore because ultimately you'll put your bait on there if you have anything. Now this is great if you don't have bait. If you don't have a worm or something like that, then you don't have to put anything on there. But it'd be great if you could put, a worm of some sort, or a grub, or a minnow, or something like that. Then it'll just entice the fish even more. So this is the next step that I usually do. And what I'm going to do is just get a little super glue of some sort. So I'm going to get some Gorilla Glue right here. It's just what I keep handy. And you don't use a lot of it, but I just do a bit of a dab. And sometimes if I've got a lot of epoxy, that's fine. I could use that, but it's just ever so slight. Watch, it'll probably all be ran out or something like that. This Gorilla Glue is just a little. See, this one's like a paste. I'm going to rub. That looks like a little paintbrush. Rub it. And what that's going to do, that's going to ensure that it doesn't fray, or that little knot doesn't come loose. Now, if you want to do a different knot that you'd be a lot more confident on, then go by all means do that. But that basically is it. Here's a store-bought kind. So I'll give you an example. Here's the one you just spent, 20 minutes or so teaching the kids and sitting at the kitchen table with them or something, or in the shop. Okay, getting a little family time. And this is the one that you get from the store. Yeah, granted, hey, which one's prettier? Well, of course, the store-bought one is, but you know what? That's going to have memories, and that's going to be pretty cool. But, not all jigs work equally, so you can always make different colors, and that's what's nice. You buy a bunch of hooks, you get a pack of these hooks here, you get 10 of them in this little pack right here. You get 10 of the number 4s, and you get some paracord, some scrap paracord or something like that. I'm sure a lot of the stores sell this stuff, even if it's the Chinese stuff. And then you guys sit back and you make these. And what if it doesn't work? It doesn't work. It's a memory. It's as much as it is something that you can use as an emergency. But then, of course, you guys all have something like this. So you take your Altoids can and you put your lures inside there. And you save up some lures. Then you can take some of your anchor weights. I got these little BBs here. I don't even know what the weight is on these things. The split shots here. I don't even know what they are. They're oh, here we go. Get the container right here. This is an old container too. This is from when I was a kid. Doesn't say the weight. It's so heavy, but it's a nice little container that you'd put on. You twist it. You can see it's real pretty loose and everything, but it's nice because it fits right in there. So, and then you can do these things. You can always buy these little fake worms and stuff like that. Just for enticing the fish a little bit, and just in case you can't find any grubs or worms or anything like that. Or you want to find worms and grubs, but you want to eat them yourself because, of course, you're bushcrafting. So you're going to have to eat whatever you find. And then you got this fake stuff. You don't want to eat the fake stuff. But, throw these inside there. So, like I said, if you had a hank of paracord and you have some hooks, you can throw these in your kit. And you can turn around and you can make these easily on the fly. You can make them out in the field. You just need about an 8-inch piece of paracord, just enough so you can wrap it around a few times, and then make a few square knots or something like that on there. I've never been a big knot person, so I'm sure there's somebody out there that might be able to recommend a better knot. But that's it. There's actually a fisherman's knot there was a fishing knot that worked pretty good, and you'd have the strand down below, and you'd wrap all the way around it, and you'd feed the other end through it, and you'd pull it tight. And it's we used them for slip bobbers, and I forgot the name of that knot, but I'm not sure if the paracord inner strands would work very good. But like I said, guys, I thought I'd just share it with you. It's a little something, little idea. We were sitting around, and I thought, well, what the heck, maybe somebody out there might want to do this with their kids or something like that, a little project. Even if you don't really think about going fishing much, it'd be neat just to make something like this with the kids, and then have them attach it to a stick and throw it in the water and see what happens. But find something that's interesting, and feed that fire, fuel that as best as you can, and use your creativity to make it more enjoyable instead of just going to a store and buying something. This gives them ownership. This says, hey, you know what? If it worked, they caught a fish on a lure they made. I mean, that's like a Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup to kids. I mean, you can't go wrong with that, especially if they're doing it with their mom and dad, a cousin, somebody like that. So anyhow, guys, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for supporting the channel. Stop over to ckknifeandtool.com. Check Facebook, MeWe, Instagram. I'm all over the place over there. So until the next video, you guys take it easy and have a good one. Bye.